It's the Baltimore Ravens. It's Lamar Jackson. They did not perform to the level we were hoping this past weekend. Their offense put up 3 points against this Bills defense. It was not a good performance, most notably the Lamar Jackson pick six, which essentially cost them the game. So my major question here for you, Evan, is are we worried about Lamar Jackson? Are you worried about Lamar Jackson?
Yes, I am worried about Lamar Jackson. Now let me start by saying this. I'm not worried about Lamar Jackson when you compare him to a guy like Jared Goff. Obviously, I'm taking Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is a top 10 quarterback. But Spencer, you said there's 6 superstar quarterbacks in the NFL right now, and Lamar Jackson's one of them. So now I have the right to compare him to a guy like Patrick Mahomes, to a guy like Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson. And I'm very worried in that sense. Because, like Russell Westbrook, or Giannis Antetokounmpo in the NBA, these guys play in one gear. When Russell Westbrook can't get to the rim and attack the basket, he doesn't have a jump shot to fall back on. And Russell Westbrook, when the Ravens can't bully people with their offensive line and run game, he doesn't have a great clean pocket passing game and accuracy and just not a great thrower from the pocket. I like his ability to run around, extend plays, but he doesn't have that clean pocket ability to fall back on to win playoff games.
Yeah,
that's why I'm concerned.
I'm going to agree with you. I think you were expecting me to come on here and say, oh, Lamar, they're going to be just fine. But this is why I'm concerned about both Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. And I think both of these apply to what you're saying. I think part of the reason, not only Lamar Jackson is not the most comfortable in terms of dropping back and passing, I think he can do that relatively well, but the Ravens also aren't putting him in a position to succeed. They don't have the receivers. He's honestly been under pressure much more quickly this season. I know they've lost Ronnie Stanley. They've had some struggles on the interior offensive line. And so this offense is just not built to win right now in the playoffs because they right now as a team, when they get off kilter, cannot pass. They cannot do things like that. And one of my biggest issues with Lamar Jackson is, exactly what we're saying. He kind of gets flustered and he will make a bad decision which is sometimes caused by what's around him, but he cannot make those decisions either. Those cost them the game. So I agree with you in the sentiment that he needs to step things up as a passer. And I'm worried about the Ravens and Lamar Jackson because, one, Lamar Jackson is not the best passer. He has struggled a little bit more in games where he needs to step back and pass from a clean pocket or even not from a clean pocket. And also the Ravens aren't putting him in a position to succeed from a clean pocket either.
Yeah, it's not necessarily a Lamar Jackson problem only or a Ravens problem only. It's a mix of both. This is probably the worst receiver core in the whole entire National Football League. So Lamar Jackson doesn't have a lot to work with. Now, when you evaluate him individually in these playoff games, Pro Football Focus grade, 47, 63, 68, and 49, respectively in his 4 playoff games. Those aren't good. Now, in the Tennessee game, yeah, I thought he played pretty well. But the problem with Lamar Jackson right now is, Spencer, I feel like week after week, you're telling me Lamar Jackson played well. There were a few plays where he didn't. But, Spencer, to win in the playoffs, we got to eliminate those few plays. We got to eliminate when he doesn't see Marquise Brown open in the end zone. We got to eliminate a 100-yard pick six. And then you'll start winning.
No, I agree. And that's funny that you brought that up because that was one of the things that I was going to bring up as well. Because I had been saying that to you, and I really sat back and thought to myself, that's not okay. Yeah, I can't just make that excuse for Lamar Jackson because, that one play is what costs you a game. And if you're going to make that one play, then you can't win. Like, you can't win if you're going to make that play. And that's one of the things I've noticed in games. And, Lamar Jackson, he can make that mistake against the Jaguars. They're going to be fine, And he made that mistake against the Titans. They were fine because the defense is terrible. He made that terrible interception, but they were able to recover from it because the defense was awful. But against the Bills, you're not going to recover from that. Against the Steelers, you're not going to recover from that terrible interception. So, we had that discussion earlier this week, Evan, and I really sat back and thought about it because, in the moment I wanted to say, oh, Lamar Jackson, I mean, he played great outside of one interception, but you can't say that because he didn't play great. I mean, that one interception cost them the game, and he's playing to win the game, not to throw 20 great good passes and lose because of a terrible decision. So that's something that I've noticed. Now, against a lot of the better teams, one of the reasons we've seen him struggle is because of those turnovers. So I really like that point that you made there, Evan.
Thank you. I mean, we see Tom Brady. What's he doing right now? At age 43, or, when he's up in the 40s, he's making a lot of big plays this year, but like last year, 2 years ago, he wasn't necessarily making the big time throws, the amazing plays, but he was avoiding the mistakes that lose you the game. And that's why he was winning the game and winning six Super Bowls.
Yeah, totally. I agree. And so this whole thing for me, I think I'm coming from a spot of the Ravens and Lamar Jackson need to change something. And do I think they can? I think they can. I think Lamar Jackson can improve in his decision making. He's improved every year in his career. I think he can get better in these areas. I think the Ravens can put better pieces around him. But right now, as Lamar Jackson currently is, and as the Ravens are currently constructed, they are going to have a difficult time winning in the playoffs because when they're put off kilter, they really, really, really struggle. And I think it's all about Lamar Jackson. He's going to get more comfortable, and we hope he gets more comfortable and the Ravens put better pieces around him. But right now, Lamar Jackson cannot make those decisions. So do I think the Ravens and Lamar Jackson can get there? I do think that. But right now, they're going to struggle if they cannot get these things fixed. All right. So we actually agreed there more than we thought we would. Yeah.
Surprisingly.
I knew that we thought, because I know you thought that we were going to sit here and have an argument, but I sat back and I was like, let's just think about this logically. What is the best way to think about this? And I think that's the best way. I think Lamar Jackson can get better. I think the Ravens can get better. But right now, as currently constructed, there's reason to be concerned. There's reason to be concerned about Lamar Jackson. He's got to fix some things. And there's a reason we're seeing Josh Allen playing next week instead of Lamar Jackson. And those decisions, the inability to adjust is one of those reasons. So definitely being a concern there. So, yeah.
But it's worth saying. Lamar Jackson,
yep.
I put him in that tier 2. He's probably going to be my 6th ranked quarterback going into next year, with among the likes of Kyler Murray, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow. That's a great class to be in. But I just can't put him on the tier of a Russell Wilson, Josh Allen, these elite.
Yeah, I can totally see that. I would agree with you. This is the last thing I'll say, and then we'll move on to the next segment. But I think we were talking about this earlier in the week. Where do we rank Lamar Jackson? And after that game, I kind of thought about it a little more. I'd probably more rank him with those second guys. And I do think against the better teams, he is one of the best. Like, I would put him in that top tier. I think he against the worst teams in the league, I put him in that top tier because he's able to. They don't put him off kilter. But I would say just overall as a quarterback, I think he is more in that second tier. Not a bad thing, but Lamar Jackson, if you're got to win Super Bowls, if you're going to win Super Bowls with the Ravens, you got to adjust.